welcome to the card share for the Hero Arts My Monthly Hero April 2018 video. Thanks for joining me. You may notice that my lighting looks different. That's because I'm filming this in the evening. And I have a different light on, hoping that it's not quite as glary up in your face. Today is Monday. We're in the midst of a sort of ice storm here in New Hampshire. I kept Leah home from school because I wasn't comfortable having her on the roads on the school bus. So if you happen to hear her in the background, I do apologize for that. She's playing a video game with some friends online right now, and she comes out every once in a while to cheer me on or to have me cheer her on with stuff that's going on. So again, the kit that I was using was the April 2018 My Monthly Hero kit. It's this lovely 6x8 stamp set, very Fiesta Cinco de Mayo themed, gorgeous, and of course some coordinating dies. I did suspect this, so I did mention this on my unboxing, and if you're interested in looking at the unboxing of all the stuff that came in the kit, some of the stuff has been used up, so I can't show you everything that came in it now. I did mention that I wasn't sure about this beautiful border die. It definitely does not work in my Cuttlebug. No matter how much I shim it, I could not get it to go through. Very disappointing. I had a lot of, I don't have it in front of me, but I had a lot of card ideas using this, and I had a bunch of sketches, and just not being able to use this, I think, really kind of crippled my creative process. And of course it kind of was sad. I tried a bunch of different shimming, and my Cuttlebug is kind of on its way out. It was not working. So I am saving up for a Gemini. That's one of the things that I plan to get in 2018. I'm about a quarter of the way there, guys. Anyway, but everything else was beautiful. Most of the stamps have coordinating dies, except for these couple of little flourishes and flowers. And then this decorative banner does not have a die, and neither do the flower pots. So if you use those, they have to be fussy cut. Other than everything had a die. Oop, I have some extra images that I've colored, and I keep my extras in the storage envelope so that I have them on hand. One just fell out. I did have a chance to use all of the other dies, most of the other images that I've stamped out. Some of them are a bit stained, as you can see, because I was using some VersaFine. Because another thing that I was doing with this kit this month was watercoloring. If you'll notice, some of the images are quite detailed and very small, and I did have some personal concerns about my own coloring ability and regarding my alcohol markers. I'm a Spectrum Noir user, and the tip is not, it's fine, but it's not super ultra fine. So I just did have some concerns regarding this stability of my hand, being able to color in those. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give some watercoloring a try. And I showed you guys this in a previous video. I did a bit of a review on these watercolor markers that I picked up from Michaels. I'm not very good at watercoloring, so I didn't think that I would enjoy and or be very good at watercolor markers, but it's the opposite. It turns out I thought that I did very well with them, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I have this inexpensive set of 24 that I got at Michaels. That was kind of a test before I saved up to invest in something pricier like a Zig or a Tombow. And I swatched them out, not these two on the bottom. And I enjoyed them a lot. And I used these to color in the stamps on this one, because the points on these ones are a lot finer, and it turns out that my suspicion that it would work a lot better was correct. So I ended up using my little VersaFine Black Onyx, and I heat embossed with my white clear detail embossing powder. I know there's no label on this anymore because I use it quite frequently, an idea stolen from Christina Warner to keep them in Tupperwares. This is just the Recollections clear detail embossing powder, and that's another brand that you can get at Michaels in a sort of Betty Crocker Dollar Tree container here, and it worked out great. I had an absolute blast with it. And again, I did show in detail in a previous video if you want to take a look. I'm going to go back and I won't bore you guys with that. And another product that I use to watercolor with, but to a much lesser degree, are the 24 watercolor pencils that I picked up at Holler a while ago. And I talked about these in the other video as well. I was not able to find them for sale on Holler, and I was not able to find them for sale anywhere else. So this may have been just a limited thing that people were able to get. But these were very inexpensive. I think they were maybe only $5, $6, maybe $7. And they worked really well as well. So definitely don't shy away from an inexpensive watercolor pencil, especially if you're a newbie like I am, or if you're just not very good at watercoloring in general. It's probably not worth spending the, you know, dropping the $100+ on the Prismacolors or the, I don't even know what the other brands are. definitely not, probably not worth it. Definitely not worth it for me. Probably not worth it in general if it's not something that you, are good at it like I am. But anyway, so the one issue that I had with the watercolor pencils is it kind of hit some of the embossing off of some of my images, and that was just user error. Not a big deal. And I had to go through, I made so many cards that I had to go through and I watercolored an entire second batch of images. And I was much more careful with the watercolor pencils this time around, and I didn't have any issues. So, but again, I enjoyed using the markers more, so I was using the markers more. And I've definitely decided that I will probably start investing in some better watercolor markers. And I think upon careful review and watching anything and reading anything I can get my hands on it, I think the Tombos are probably going to be the line for me, and something that I can buy in sets and kind of gradually collect like I did with the Spectrum Noir until I eventually get all 9 sets. Plus I believe you can use coupons on it at Michael's. So anyway, moving on. So this is the stamp set. I had an absolute blast with this kit. It came with some inks. And I did have a chance to use the inks, but not so much on these cards. I used them on some other cards that I was working on at the same time. I've used the Hero Art inks before. They're lovely. They blend well. Everything worked out perfect. And I actually grabbed the wrong one. I have the rest of my tray here. This is technically the one, the Fiesta Teal, that came with the kit. And I had suspected when I was doing the unboxing, the Fiesta Teal came in the April kit, but we got this Teal Topaz back in the December kit. So I was kind of figuring as I was that it was kind of close to the same color, and I actually did have a chance to test it out. Actually with both kits. Move out of the glare here. So the top one is the December, the Teal Topaz, and then the bottom is the April, the Fiesta Teal. So it's the same color. So, so there you go. They just repackage different colors as they need, which is just fine with me because it's a pretty color and I'll use it. But I just kind of wanted to follow up because I did wonder aloud as I was opening up the kit if that was the same color, and it turns out that it is, and I have a couple notes to myself on the back here. The kit also came with some mulberry paper in different colors, and I didn't really know what to do with that, but I kind of used bits and pieces of it here and there, and you'll see as we go along. And I used a couple of other sporadic products that I will point out as we get there. And another thing that I was new to using this time was I just opened up my Lawn Fawn glue tube. It's a ½ ounce, so it's the same size. It's the same size tube, or the same quantity of glue that comes in the small Ranger multimedia mats that I kept having to buy the fine point tips for. And this one you don't have to. Hope it's a little bit gunky, but you don't need it. And I haven't had, other than just making sure that you kind of, and it's pretty easy, clean off just the glue tip. The glue comes out perfectly. Again, as long as you don't leave it open so that it dries, and just keep the tip clean. The glue comes out perfectly. It seems to be a thin, almost not, sort of like a cross between the liquid kind of glue that you get with the Zig pen and the media mat, where it's kind of thick. It really goes on almost like a Nuvo drop. And because the tip is fine, depending on how, not as fine as the tips that we use for our multimedia mat bottles, but But it does come out pretty fine, and just you can kind of control how big. Oh, look at that, I accidentally squeezed it, and here's some coming out. You can kind of control how much glue is coming out depending on where you are. See, I can do, I don't even know if you can see because of the glare, but I can do really, really tiny up to big bubbles of glue. It just depends on how much you need and takes a little bit of practice with the pressure. It dries fairly quickly. It's not a matte glue though, so it will, it dries clear, but it's not matte like the multimedia mats. So it will, if some of it oozes out the side of your die cut, it will show. So you do have to be a little bit careful with that. But it was strong. I think that the price is pretty comparable, and the fact that this comes out a lot easier and I don't have to buy a separate tip. I keep breaking the stupid tips on these ones. And they're not cheap. They're like, what, $5 or $6 for a 2-pack? And not needing that with this, I think I'm probably going to make the switch to the Lawn Fawn glue. And then when I see a sale on that, stock up so that I have plenty of that. And of course, this is my standard for fast, quick work. I like to use this, but for card making, I really do like my my liquid glue. So I really do, I like this, and I like it a lot more than I like the mono glue, which is another glue that I use. It's not that I don't like the glue, it's just I have a hard time getting a consistent result from the bottle. Anyway, I really did like the Lawn Fawn. It's probably not worth full price, but if you can get a good deal on it on sale, definitely stock up. So anyway, so that was the other thing that I wanted to point out that was new to me this time. Put this out of the way. This is a note to remind myself we have to make a Dollar Tree run as soon as we can leave the house. Leah has a party this weekend we need to get some cups and plates for. Anyway, so let's just jump into the card making. The first thing I should probably show you and kind of explain a little bit. This card we made using the, and I say we because my daughter was picked out the paper here. Oops, I dropped it. Using the dancing girl mouse, and then the boy playing the trumpet. I don't even know what instrument that is. I'm not a music person. And then of course we used the sentiment, feel the music. And I loved this paper. This paper came from one of those Craftsmith. I actually have it right here. From Michaels. It's one of the Craftsmith Recollections Hot Buy papers that you get on the end caps, and they're normally $19.99, but never pay that much because like every month they're on sale for $5 or $6 a pack. So, and then I stock up. And this came from the Desert Dream set, and I've used this quite a bit. You can see a lot of the papers are missing except for the scrapbook layout ones because I don't do a heck of a lot of scrapbooking, but it's a really nice, sorry, my camera angle. It's a really nice paper pack. I enjoy it. And I thought that that would be fun, sort of a Southwestern print to kind of pull it together. And I liked the pink in this one as well. And some of the ribbon, I used the ribbon that came with the kit as well on these cards that you'll see. So that's the ribbon that you see. Anyway, so I made this card and I was really pleased with it. And then I remembered that Leah and I have to make a bunch of thank you cards to send to family who gave us our Christmas gifts over Easter. So we still have to write all the thank you notes, and it's kind of been on my list to make the thank you notes for them. And there were a couple of really nice thank you sentiments in a banner in this kit. That's the banner, of course, and it has the die, and then it's muchos gracias or many thanks. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, we could make a bunch of thank you cards. So we used the rest of the paper that I had used to make a bunch of thank you cards in kind of the same design. Sorry, I'm sorry, glare, glare, glare. I'm so sorry. I am trying to be conscious of it. So here we go. Just different colors a little bit on each one, but just a bunch of thank you cards that we made. These what is the word? These flower pots are a solid image, and I just used my X-Acto knife to cut a slit in them, and then I slipped the cacti with a cactus right through there and then taped it on the back, and that's how that's held together. So here's just a bunch of more or less all the same thing, just using the same paper and the same color theme. So I haven't double checked it against my list, but this may or may not be enough enough thank you cards. We'll see. I hadn't quite gotten that far yet. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to film this. I actually just finished assembling the last card like half an hour ago. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to film this right away, was so that we could get started on writing a couple of these thank you notes after dinner and checking to see how much else we need. So this card I love, and I made this one for my husband's birthday, which is not, it's still a couple of months away, but I know that he'll absolutely love this card. And I used the guitar sentiment as well, and I stamped the happy birthday sentiment, which comes in 2 pieces, and I just stacked it and heat embossed that over on white. This is just, I made my own background paper essentially with the guitar, and I just stamped it out a couple of times, and made watercolored it with the watercolor pen, and then I made a separate little guitar here, which you've probably seen in the other video because this was actually the first one that I did. And I propped this one up front with foam tape to give it kind of a little bit more of a focus, and then I propped up the sentiment as well. I used Distress Oxide ink to watercolor inside the happy here in purple. I thought it was fun. I've seen a bunch of other YouTubers do it, and it always looks so nice, like they're doing it on top of black, they're doing it on top of craft, and mine didn't come out super great, and I think it's just because I'm using kind of like a mid-quality cardstock. I'm just using like Black Recollections cardstock. So if I can get my hands on some really nice black cardstock or some really nice craft cardstock, I'd like to try watercoloring again on it with the Distress Oxide ink, because it was fun. It just didn't happen to show up very well. And I have another card in here where it like didn't show up at all, and you'll see when we get to that. And I mounted this on some of that mulberry paper that came with the kit, because that blue that came with the kit looked really nice with the blue marker that I used for the guitar, and I thought that would be really nice to mount the whole card on that mulberry paper and kind of give it a little, it just gives it a little something extra, I think, a little bit more detail. So this is for my husband, and I need to put this separately because I need to get that tucked away in a drawer so he doesn't see it. And speaking of my husband actually kind of helped with the design on this one a little bit. I used for the background paper on this one and a couple of other cards as well, I used some Amuse Studio paper that I picked up a while ago back at Black Friday that I hauled. And I thought this one in particular was really fun, and I couldn't find a practical way to use it with this kit, the one with all the different banners. And my husband suggested, why don't you put it on, put the cake on a table or something and make it look like a party scene underneath the banners. And I said, well, I don't really have a table stamp and die at all. And I can't freehand one. And I didn't want to cut one out in the Cricut because I didn't want to sort of mix and match my paper cuts. I really wanted something that would look nice and look fun. And he said, well, you know, all those banners hanging, it looks like the banners are hanging out in the sky. Why don't you just put everything on the clouds and make it look like it's a birthday party on clouds? I was like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. So I got out my stitched cloud border die, and I did use my ink a little bit, and I inked up the clouds with the ink that came with the kit. And I thought that looked really fun. It looks kind of like a party in the sky. And we've got the cake, the three-tiered cake floating on one cloud, and you've got the donkey floating over here. And I heat embossed using my orange Recollections pearl embossing powder. And then, of course, the die cuts that I had made. And the paper comes with little blue sort of bubbles on it. I don't know if you can see in the background. And I thought that was really cool. And to kind of just make them pop a little bit, I covered them all with a little glossy accents. And Glossy Accents is another product that I really like. And I know that they have some alternative things to it now. I think one of them is from Nuvo. I forget what it's called, but I'm really interested to try that out, because this is another product that I have a hard time, no matter what kind of a tip I put on the bottle. I've even tried storing a pin in here. I still just have a really hard time getting the product out of this bottle. So I'm looking forward to trying something else. So you'll be seeing me use Glossy Accents a lot more because I'm trying to use it up. So one thing that I wanted to point out, again, here's a better... I'm just trying to show off the embossing powder, which I really love. And I got this embossing powder for Halloween. It's actually called carnelian, not orange, and it's beautiful, but I haven't used it since Halloween. So I went to Heat and Boss with it, and it's really clumpy in there. And like when I was pouring, it was actually hard, like completely hard in here. And I had to put the cap back on it and slam it up against the table to get some of the powder to loosen. And like big chunks of it were coming out, and I just was not really impressed with that. I'm probably going to have to take it all out and actually break it down. And I have a couple of others. I think I have like 3 or 4 different colors of the Recollection Pearl Embossing Powder from that line that I all bought last year, thinking they'll just hang on to it and it's an occasional thing, but I was not impressed with the clumping. Oh, look, there's a big clump that came from somewhere. You actually have to break it down before you can use it. Was not impressed with that at all. So we'll see. This is another product I'll be trying to use up, get it out of here. Anyway, so I did have a lot of fun with this card, and we can thank my husband for some design input on that one. Next one, and one of my personal favorites, I used the cacti. Cracked me up. This is more Amuse Studio paper in the background here, and this is more paper from that Recollections paper pad that I showed you at the beginning, which I thought was really fun. And I used the Looking Sharp sentiment in a couple of Nouveau drops. This is just all 4 of the cacti in 4 different pots, and again the same thing. I had to make a slit in the pot, slip it in, not a big deal. This actually went together very well, and this is actually the first card that I made using the mulberry paper, and I was thinking that I would mount with the mulberry paper, and that was really fun. But I also fringed the edges of the mulberry paper just on 2 sides to kind of, I don't know, make it look kind of like one of those Mexican blankets, those beautiful striped blankets that, you know, the woven blankets. It just kind of reminded me of that, and I thought that was really fun and added a nice little touch to the card. It was fun. I don't use mulberry paper a lot, so it was a great way to use it. I think that's all I had to point out for that. The next one is a shaker card, which I had a lot of fun with. The background is more of that Amuse Studio paper that came from the same paper pack, just beautiful colors. The snake, which cracked me up. I thought that it would be fun. The rattlesnake holding the maraca is a shaker card. So it actually makes... Yeah, I'm a dork, I know. And then decorated with another maraca, and I matted the Heat and Boss sentiments, which are just white on black, on some more of that mulberry paper, just because it looked really nice with the other papers that I had picked out to go with this, and I thought it gave it something a little bit fun, a little bit something extra. And this corner looked a little bit naked, so I put some Nouveau drops on there, and I haven't put them away yet. My English mustard Nouveau drops. I need to put those away. So this one was a lot of fun. Another favorite. I have too many favorites. This card, oh, it's another thank you card. I think that I knew that. I think this is probably supposed to start off as a birthday card, and I messed it up, but it's another thank you card. And I did the same thing on the edge of this one with the mulberry paper, fraying it, because I thought that was really cool. Another piece of paper from that Amuse Studio. I really like the yellow and the orange on this one. So I just cut it down, and I put just a bunch of different elements on here. This was me just playing around, and I thought it was a birthday card, but apparently I made it into a thank you card, and that's fun because this will go out to somebody as a thank you. But I had a lot of fun with this one and more of that ribbon. The kit came with some sort of yellowish green and some of this purplish pink iridescent ribbon, so just more of that ribbon. And I think I might have like 3 or 4 inches of that ribbon left. That's it. Okay, last card, finally, and this one was a lot of fun to do, and it kind of made me smile. I used the hot pepper stamp, and I'm trying to find it here. It's a small one, and I almost overlooked it when I was stamping out the images, even though I knew it was here. And then I liked the sentiment, "You're one hot mama." And I have a friend who would just get a kick out of this. So in her birthday's coming up, so I made it into a birthday card for her, or a Feliz Cumpleaños card, which is happy birthday. And I apologize for butchering that. I do not speak Spanish, so I happen to know that that means happy birthday just because I had a custom order for it a couple of times to make cards that say that. So anyway, but I can't say it. So I just basically heat embossed the image, and then I just watercolored a bunch of times. I made my own background paper. It's matted on some more of that mulberry paper. And this is that other example of when I tried to watercolor over the black. I actually used the red, the candied apple Distress Oxide ink and tried to watercolor in Hot Mama, and you can see how just terrible that, like, you can't even tell that that's anything. So everybody else does so well with it. I'm either just so terrible at it, or I'm using the wrong kind of cardstock to be watercoloring with Distress Oxide inks on a dark color. And the same thing with my other card for my husband that I made. I propped it up with some foam tape, and I made a little extra hot pepper that I kind of propped up with this as well. So this one is going to be really fun. My friend's really going to love this. You're one hot mama. She's going to love it. And anyway, that is pretty much what I have to show. Oh, one thing I did forget to point out that's on my little list. I did inside the shaker card, and this is something that I've just recently started doing with my shaker cards, is I used the Doris white foam. Let's see, this is what I use to do my shakers with now. It's the white sticky back foam sheets where it's sticky on one side. I get them in a pack of like 10 or 12 or whatever. Consumer Crafts, they're a pretty good price, but they are stark white. And when you do your shaker cards, you can actually see the white on the inside of the shaker. And of course you can't really tell because unfortunately a lot of my sequins are sticking to it. But I didn't like the white, so I've started coloring with an alcohol marker, just coloring the inside of the foam part before I seal up the shaker card, just so that it's not stark white. And I used my Spectrum Noir OR3, which kind of matched a bit with the theme of this card. And I just went through and I took the fine tip and I just went through all there's 2 layers of foam back here, so I just went through and made sure that you couldn't see any of the white, or you wouldn't be able to see any of the white when I put the components together. So, and that is the only other thing that I wanted to point out with that card. So I've talked about the different products that I've used. I've talked about the Lawn Fawn and the kit itself. I really, really love this one. I may whip it out again soon because I have a couple of more ideas that I didn't get a chance to do. And of course, sadly, all of the ideas that I had going on with the frame, I had some, some really nice ideas using this frame that I just can't get the damn thing to cut out. It's my Cuttlebug. It's not the fault, but so there you go. But an A+ kit for me. I had a lot of fun with it. I probably over 3 or 4 different days just crafting with it. I came back and I did a second batch of stuff just because I loved it so much. But anyway, that's what I have. Thanks very much for your attention. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I have to put this one aside for now because I have a whole tray of other projects that I need to get working on, but you'll definitely see this one again soon. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.